Put on your armor, saddle up your horses. We're going to ride to England and draw Windsor Castle. This is a really old and beautiful castle, an example of the castles built during that time, which was a long time ago. We're going to start with the two big towers, in between which there is a drawbridge, and of course the castle is surrounded by water or a moat to protect it from attack. Now we draw these lines at that curve again for the top and all the parts because the tower is round. Both towers are round, and the way we make them look round on a flat piece of paper is with that curve. We're looking at the castle from the right front, so we're at a little angle. We can see part of the right side and the front of the castle, but we can't see the left side. There's lots and lots of little parts of this castle to draw, to get the windows right, and to get the doorways and the stones and the ramparts. Those are the top parts where the archers would shoot from to defend the castle. So take your time with this. If you need to pause, catch up with me, and then start the video again, you can do that, and you can do that lots. You can just keep starting and stopping to make sure you get the castle parts correct. Now you notice that castles like this, they have funny windows in them. The windows are small and curved, and sometimes they have also just little slots. And the reason for that is, back in those days, the way you defended your castle was archers, people who shoot arrows. And they would stand back in these little slots and shoot the arrows at the enemy. But the enemies would have a hard time getting an arrow directly in that little hole. So there was some amount of protection. We're drawing the bridge now. Stone designs that hold the upper part of the castle above the bridge. This is a grand castle and an excellent example of Norman architecture. This was built way long time ago. It was built following the victory of William the Conqueror in the Battle of Hastings. And you know what year? 1066. Now right now we're at 2018. Well, 1066, 2018, that's almost 1,000 years. We're getting the second tower finished with all the different holes in the windows and the shapes and the stonework. You know, castle walls were really, really thick, sometimes 2, 3, or 4 meters thick of stone. Because one of the other things they did when they battled as they did and tried to defend their castle is that the people attacking the castle had these huge machines, mechanical machines that would throw huge rocks at the castle, trying to break the walls down so that they could breach the walls and get inside. Okay, we've got the lines, the main castle drawn. Now we're putting in a few more little details. If you need to stop now, please do. Put it on pause. Get all the little details right around the top of the towers and the rest. Okay, now the castle is made of these big, huge stones, and they're gray stones, and they're old, so they've aged. So a dark gray is a great choice to color a castle. And most of the castle is dark gray. There's parts, like in between the two towers, that might have some wood, and in which case we'll do that brown. There's the right side of the castle that we can see a little bit because of the angle we're looking from. And I'm using different tipped pencils here, ones that are a little smaller. To get in those little spots, I use a sharp tip. And then a little sharp tip brown pencil to do in between that gives it a little different tone. Many of the kings and queens have used this as their home over the centuries. It is the official residence of the Queen now, but she also goes and is in residence at Buckingham Palace sometimes as well. And of course, as long as feudalism reigned, that was when there were kings and queens, and there were many different enemies who would try to attack the different castles in this way, with horses and arrows and crossbows. They had to have a way to protect themselves. So this is the way kingdoms were ruled and kings lived for many, many centuries, throughout the Middle Ages and up into the Renaissance. Okay, we're coloring in between the windows with the gray stone color. Okay, we'll color in the windows. And again, everything you see is pretty much stone. The blue windows have glass in them, but that's relatively modern. You could knock glass out pretty easy with a bunch of rocks and arrows. So this area of the castle, we're putting a slightly brownish color. If you need to pause and catch up with my coloring, my fast little pen, do so. I'm going to keep going, but you can always pause me by hitting the pause button and start me up again. I am at your command. I'm using a little darker color, a little lower. And again, that makes it look more interesting. That area we're doing is actually underneath an overhang. So it would be a little darker, it would be a little shadier, which means it would be a little darker in color. And one more interesting fact about Windsor Castle. It is one of the oldest continuously inhabited castles in the world. And of course, being almost 1,000 years old, you can understand. Now, there was a time during the English Civil War where the castle was used as a prison, and not as the home of the king, but the home of the prisoners. Over 1,000 years of life, a building can have many, many, many different stories to tell. All right, we have a little bit of coloring left. We're going to color that front ramp area a darker blue. Pushing lots of color on there because I want it to be a little bit darker than the rest. You need to understand that this castle we're just drawing one small part of it. It's huge. It's very, very big. We're putting the sky around it now for the color. And again, we don't draw the whole sky on the whole sheet of paper. We kind of do an impression of the sky by putting the blue up to the castle part and then letting it go off into the white paper. And we're just about finished. We're having a good time finishing the Windsor Castle, the grand, old inhabited castle in England. Thanks for joining us at Kids Art Fun, and do subscribe for more wonderful drawings. See you later!